It's tax season, and at LifeLock, we know you're tired of numbers. But here's a big one you need to hear. Billions. That's the amount of money in refunds the IRS has flagged for possible identity fraud. Now here's another big number. 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed. One last big number. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast for the threats you can't control. Terms apply.
TaxAct understands you haven't memorized the tax code. That's why TaxAct has live experts to help. TaxAct can even do it for you if you prefer. It's the easiest way to know you're doing it right. Well, other than going back to college and obtaining a bachelor's degree in accounting with a minor in finance, then interning somewhere and becoming fluent in all tax forms. But that might be hard to accomplish before tax day. So maybe just stick with TaxAct. TaxAct. Let's get them over with.
The Larry Kudlow Show. Entertaining and informative. On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
So, we got Pentagon funding fight coming up in Washington. We got Jay Powell fighting God knows who in Washington. We got tax hikes in Seattle. There'll never be another baseball free agent going to Seattle or these other blue states that are taxing them to death. We got Liz Peek, Fox News contributor. We got the great Steve Forbes, chairman and editor-in-chief of Forbes Media. And we got Steve Moore, WABC Radio host of More Money, also Unleash Prosperity Hotline. So to all of you, thank you very much for this. I appreciate it. Let me start with Steve Forbes. Steve Forbes, Jay Powell. He's a friend of yours. I know he is. He's a friend of yours. Jay Powell basically is saying he's going to barricade himself in the bathroom in the Fed, so they'll never be able to remove him as chairman pro tem. He's doing things that are not legal and do not have the backing. He's never even asked his own board of governors. I don't think he's asked the general counsel. What does he think he's doing? And he's doing this to spite Donald Trump in the middle of the Iran war. He's sowing, markets collapse. Stocks just got slammed on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. You can blame oil prices, but I would also blame Jay Powell's misbehavior. Give me a little Steve Forbes on this story.
Well, I think he thinks he's got an opportunity to become chair for life.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it hasn't been released to the public yet. But the same team that removed Maduro at the Pentagon is now getting ready to do an operation against Jay Powell.
It's wonderful.
So it's a pathetic way to go out. But the fact is that they are making wrong policy. You know, right now the 10-year Treasury is about 4.25%. The 30-day bill, a Treasury bill, 30 days is 3.7%. You know, Larry, if you have the traditional difference between a 30-day Treasury and a 10-year Treasury bond, the short rate should not be the 3.5% they have now, but 2.25%, 2.5%. So already they're 100 basis points off. They're also paying too much on bank reserves at a time when we have wobbliness, potential wobbliness in the economy, uncertainty, and all that kind of stuff. That should be about 2.5%, and they shouldn't be paying at all, but they should be much lower than it is today. So whether it's the poor misguided Powell, he needs help after when he leaves the Fed, and what they're doing is absolutely wrong, and that's not contributing to the markets today. And one of the other things, by the way, I have to get it in, is with President Trump. I wish he would get behind the Oval Office desk, not behind a podium, and calmly explain to the American people. He's done it. We sort of get haphazard from time to time. What's happening with Iran and the fact that the Iranians have more ballistic missiles than we knew, the fact that they're trying to close the Strait of Hormuz, underscores not that we got a surprise by how much stuff they had, which should tell you something, but how dangerous they were and how they have to be taken out, and that regime has to be removed. And explain it to the American people, and they'll cut them the slack, and the Democrats will look like idiots, which is not something new, sadly.
Couple weeks, Steve. I told you. He's going to make the speech. Couple weeks, not now. He likes doing this real-time stuff, and I think he's actually pretty good at it, but maybe we disagree on that. Liz Peek, Jay Powell is on this egotistical trip, and he is on thin legal ice. Thin legal ice. And I don't know why. He's become this crusader, but it is the president who appoints the Fed chair, not the Fed chair who appoints the Fed chair. It's the president. Not only that, in any agency, the agency does not appoint the chair. It's the president that appoints the chair, whether it's the SEC or the FTC. When his term is up, his term is up. There's no such thing as a chairman pro tem unless it's a transition from a presidential appointee. But that's not what's going on here. And I just think Jay Powell is now doing more harm to Fed respect and independence. Of course, he's been doing this all along, but he's doing even more harm to the Fed and independence. And markets rebelled against it on Wednesday, big time.
Well, I think that's probably true, Larry. I think all of this is unnecessary. Jay Powell feels he has the backing of the media and investor market sentiment, whatever, because everyone's in such a flutter all the time about Fed independence. I would argue the Fed is never independent. There's always been a political element to it. The whole thing is a manufactured problem. But I think President Trump made it a much bigger problem by undertaking this or prodding this investigation forward of Jay Powell. I think it's silly, unnecessary, and it's now created this big issue. I mean, what's the issue? Jay Powell should be leaving as normal, and he would be, except we can't move forward with the nomination of Kevin Warsh because Tom Tillis, a Republican senator, is so bogged down in this investigation. The Trump White House should figure out an elegant way to drop the investigation, move forward with it, putting Kevin Warsh in that slot. I can't imagine Jay Powell wants to hang around the Fed once his time is up. I know he has a couple more years on the board. I can't imagine he'll take advantage of that. But if he does, so what? He'll be a minor player. There are other minor players. He will not have a big outsized voice. And meanwhile, Steve Moore did a great thing on Mickey Bowman's change on the regulatory side. That's much more significant than this spat between Trump and Powell. Get it done. Let's have the regulations move forward that are sensible, that are helpful to the banking industry, and that do not, by the way, push all borrowing into the private credit sector, because that's what basically was going to happen.
Hashtag free Kevin Warsh.
You've been there, settling in for an evening of TV only to waste half the night scrolling. Enter Fire TV, entertainment with zero effort required. Fire TV serves up personalized recommendations from across all your apps. Not sure what to watch? Just tell Alexa Plus what you're in the mood for and she'll pull up the perfect recommendation. Problem solved. Stop the scroll, start the show. Find what you're looking for with Fire TV. Subscriptions may be required.
During Lowe's Pro Savings Days, save more on what goes into the job. Add power to your lineup with a free DeWalt 20-volt max 5-amp-hour battery when you buy a select DeWalt 20-volt max tool. Plus, get up to 35% off select major appliances from Whirlpool, Maytag, and more. Get the job done right. Keep more in your pocket. That's Pro Savings Days. Our best lineup is here at Lowe's. Valid through 3/27. Selection varies by location. While supplies last.
Yeah.
Hashtag free Kevin. Steve Moore, you should have taken the spot when we wanted you to a couple of years ago. Look at the mess you've left.
Well, my feeling is if Jerome Powell can stay at the Fed, then I guess Donald Trump can run for a third term.
I know. Oh, I love that. Oh God, I love that.
Listen, Jerome Powell. When I see President Trump, he always says, "Steve, I made a big mistake with Jerome Powell." Yes, sir, it's one of the few mistakes you made. And look, he's been a lousy Fed chairman. He's the one who allowed inflation to go up to 9%, the worst we ever had since Jimmy Carter. And the irony of him is that he has been, at least in my lifetime, as long as I've been following the Fed, going back to Volcker years in the early 80s, he's been by far the most politicized Fed. That's ironic because he always talks about, we're not political. Oh, yes, you are. Yeah. He's completely political. So he will be out in a few months. I don't see how he could possibly stay there. And I'm, as you know, I think Kevin Warsh was an outstanding pick.
He will do exactly as Steve Forbes has taught me. We want a stable dollar, a strong dollar, as you would say, Larry, and to retain, most importantly, retain, our status as the dollar being the world reserve currency. And that is exactly what Kevin Warsh wants.
Steve Forbes' point about the yield curve problem is a good point. I mean, you got the 91-day bill is 370. And the 2-year note is 389, the 5-year note is 4, and the 10-year is all the way up to 438. It's almost 440. I mean, bonds sold off this week. Everything sold off. Stocks sold off. Bonds sold off as soon as Powell got up there and had one of his patented press conferences. You can blame it on Iran, but I don't know. I mean, I think Powell had a lot to do. When Powell said he was going to be chairman pro tem, the Dow Jones went off over 300 points. I mean, it's just uncalled for, undermining Fed traditions and independence and all of that.
One other thing, Larry, about something that Steve Forbes said and you said that's so correct, and it really is at the tip of the spear of this what could turn into a crisis if Powell tries to stay, which is this love affair between Jerome Powell and the media. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
They just adore. And the only reason they like him so much is because he sticks his finger in Trump's eye all the time.
Mm-hmm. Well, Tim Moraes, the chief Wall Street Journal, he just has this.
He loves Powell.
Right. He's got this, Jay Powell is Superman, or Jay Powell is a martyr. Jay Powell is Jesus Christ. You just don't understand, Larry. He's really a Christ-like figure. No, he's not.
No, Jerome
he's like an 18-year-old with a crush on a girl.
Yeah, that's right. No, it's a man crush.
Jerome Powell's going to learn what the Ayatollahs learned. You don't cross this president like that.
I know. I love this. I love the Maduro, the Maduro ground up. You're going to have to send the Marines in to the Federal Reserve building and haul him out of the men's room to get him, which is right now barricaded so he can be the chairman pro tem. I don't even know what that means, pro tem. I mean, what a stupid story this is. Honest to God. Let's start a conversation that's more important. Steve Forbes, a War Department request for $200 billion. They're going to need the money because the fight's got to go on. This is going to be the next big fight over the war. The Democrats are going to oppose it because they're the anti-war party. Republicans are going to support it, I presume. And they're going to have to use a reconciliation bill to get it through.
That's right. And I think when the president does that nationwide address behind a desk very calmly, I think public opinion is going to swing roundly behind the president and the need to complete a job that should have been done years ago. Now it's being done. And he should make it clear that the only thing we're going to accept is regime change. These people have to go, and their behaviors, he's pointed out, but he's got to do it to the nation in a calm address. These people were misbehaving after we bombed them in June, took out much of their nuclear capability. They're back to making missiles again, trying to make nuclear bombs again. So these guys have got to go, and we should make it clear there's going to be regime change. And
have
by
you
the
talked
way,
to
the
him?
Israelis are working to remove the local police, the regime enforcers, block by block. So the job will get done, and we shouldn't get this thing. Is it going to be 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks?
Yeah.
The key thing is it's going to be done, however long and hard it takes. And the American people will support them on that.
By the way, it's the Israelis who would probably be better equipped to take out Jay Powell if you take a look at what they're doing in Iran. So I like that a lot. In terms of the Oval Office speech or whatever, you should talk to him, Steve Forbes. Seriously, I'm quite serious. You know him. He knows you. You should make the case. I don't think he's going to. I don't think he's going to do it. I could be wrong. I think he will do it later. But
the key thing is on that.
It's going to be a big
people
fight.
People have a context. People would have a context for the news, so they don't get upset. Gas going to go to $10 a barrel. They know what we're doing. They know we have to do it. There's going to be some surprises along the way, but it has to be done, and they'll cut the president the slack to do it. We've always done it in the past. They'll do it again now, and the Democrats are going to be left high and dry.
Yeah, Dems are going to really embarrass themselves over this Pentagon funding business, Liz. I mean, it's going to be ugly, actually. They will make the case that none of this was necessary. They will make the case that it's a forever war. All the cliches which are being rejected, I think, by voters, judging from a lot of these new polls coming out. But it's going to be embarrassing. They're going to try to defund the Pentagon in the middle of a war. Oh my God.
Yeah, and I think actually a reconciliation bill would be actually quite a good thing because it would give you an opportunity to also move forward on other things that are important to the administration. And Larry, we've talked about the necessity of a reconciliation bill over and over again, and there has not seemed to be much energy for it in Congress. I think that's a huge mistake. Think of all the other things that we're trying to defund or fund that haven't gotten any traction. If you begin to put together a reconciliation bill, and this is the keystone, the key element of it, I think Democrats are going to be, as you say, embarrassed if they don't tag along. So, I mean, I'd love to see things like the census change, and maybe you can make that into a reconciliation bill. Obviously, the Senate parliamentarians can have a lot to say about what can go in there. But the idea that Democrat states continue to have as many House seats as they have because they count illegals in California in the census, I think that is so entirely wrong. And I think Americans think it's wrong, too. Also, voting changes. The SAVE Act is going to require some money to make some changes. So let's put that in the
That's the point I made. Bill. Oh, I love that. I made that point starting yesterday, made it on the show yesterday, and we had Rick Scott on today. I made the same point. You know what? It requires money to monitor the national election so it's legal. Just like it required money to close the border. And they put money in the One Big Beautiful Bill, and it worked. And I think you could do the same thing. And, look, you can go after the fraud in California and Minneapolis and so forth, put that in the bill, too. Mike Johnson, Speaker Johnson, is there. He's talking reconciliation. And Jody Arrington is also, but so far not a peep out of the senators. And that's why I really talked to Rick Scott about it today. They've got to get moving on this right away. They've got to help Hegseth, help Trump, help the war. Come on, let's get going. Democrats will kill themselves in opposition to it. You can't. It's about the men and women in the services. You've got to give them the best because they're giving you the best. And we're talking with Liz Peek and Steve Forbes and Steve Moore. And I want to go to Steve Moore. If you're there, Steve, these taxes in the state of Washington, the city of Seattle, and elsewhere are going to ruin professional sports. Or they're going to cause a big shift in professional. Free agents won't want to. If I get this right, free agents won't want to be in Seattle. 9.9%, and a millionaire's tax on top of that. The combined rate, if you live and work in Seattle, would be 18%. That's worse than New York City.
Yeah, it's a tragedy. I mean, Washington State was one of the few blue states that works in this country because they were one of the 9 states that don't have an income tax. And the progressives, by the way, that's the reason you have great companies like Amazon. You had companies like Starbucks and Microsoft that were started in the Seattle area because they don't have an income tax. And now these fools, these lunatics in the legislature are going to give Washington State their first income tax ever. There is going to, I'm going to make a prediction. Within 5 to 10 years, Microsoft will be out of Washington, and Amazon will be out of Washington, and Starbucks will be out of Washington, and there won't be any millionaires left to tax there. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, well, Howard Schultz is leaving, or has left Washington. Sacramento, the same thing, a non-resident tax on visiting athletes and performers based on the number of duty days. I mean, no free agent's going to want to work in these high-tax states. So you're going to change the whole scope, whether it's baseball or football or hockey or whatever, right? I mean,
the Mariners and the Seahawks will never win another championship again.
Right. No, that's right. They got a good hockey team in there too, Krakens. That's what it's called. I mean, Steve Forbes. This is just an odd story. The Yankees. Look at the Yankees. How do the Yankees attract all their talent? How do the Mets attract all their talent? You have to pay them more and more, but they're taxed more and more. If she raises the tax, if Hochul raises the tax.
Oh, yes. And Steve makes a very good point about the state of Washington. Why they're undoing the one thing that keeps that state going is preposterous. And you mentioned Howard Schultz has already moved to Florida.
Yeah.
He founded Starbucks in Seattle decades ago. And the contrast, and the Republicans should make this point, good thing about our federalism, the contrast between red states and blue states on taxation and the Unleashed Prosperity newsletter that Steve does each day makes this point. One is cutting taxes, the other is raising taxes. The blues are having budget problems. The red states are getting people. The blue states are losing people. The red states are getting new businesses. The blue states are driving them out. You'd think that the lesson would be learned, and I hope in New York State, where they have a governor's election coming up, the Republican candidate Bruce Blakeman has the wherewithal to get that message out to New York State. The Democrats are ruining you, and that once upon a time, I guess you can't use it today because of it. You can't use the word, but empire state. New York was a true empire state, and now they're the puny state. And the voters have to wake up and turn it around.
Yeah,
if you get a Republican governor in New York, by golly, that would send a message around the world. And by the way, it won't happen, but two Republicans could end up in that crazy primary system they have in California as the candidates for governor.
By the way, Blakeman is a genuine supply sider. He's absolutely 100% on that. Liz, I'm sorry we didn't go to you on the sports thing, but
that's okay.
Maybe.
That's okay. I think Washington's just doing what New York and so many others do. They just don't learn. They understand it, but they're ideologically in cement.
The Larry Kudlow Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.